Evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm back again with another video, and as you can see in the title, this time it's not going to be about an album or a gig as such. It's going to be about an autobiography that I've read. I received this book as an early Christmas present from my mate Mike, who featured in the last video. He got this for me because I'm a very big Behemoth fan, and the book is, as you can see in the title, Nergal Darski's autobiography, which is called Confessions of a Heretic, the Sacred and the Profane, Behemoth and Beyond. I kind of want to talk about this because it's a lot different from a lot of other autobiographies that I've read. The vast majority of autobiographies that you will read are more written, they have a certain format where there'll be a little bit about the childhood. They'll set you up originally with like there might be some kind of bit where it's like I'm backstage at this sold out show in some city wherever, and I'm thinking back and I'm going like, how did I get here? And then they'll talk a little bit about the childhood, and then they very quickly start talking about the music and what they've produced, their career. They'll throw in a few backstage stories, then they'll reach the point of the present time, around the time that the book's been written. They'll probably close with some kind of little bit about the life philosophy, and then it just kind of ends. I don't really particularly like that about most autobiographies, because the one thing that I don't particularly like about the vast majority of autobiographies I've read is they don't put a lot of emphasis on before they were famous, or their views outside their life and their views outside of outside of what they've done. And I think for me, I always kind of read those things wanting to get a sense of the person behind the thing they created, whether it was music or a film or or comedy material. And I'll give you an example. Don't get me wrong, I love this book as well. It's Tony Iommi's Iron Man, and it's a very good book, but very quick. There's a bit about his childhood at the beginning, and then after about 30 or 40 pages, it starts talking about the formation of Black Sabbath and talking about the production of the albums and his material and all the things he's done musically over the years, which to me, as a big Black Sabbath fan myself, I've read several books, interviews, I've watched documentaries about the band. So this is all stuff that's been touched on in the past several times. There's no point reiterating it. To me, there's absolutely no point reiterating it and rewriting it down when there's so much information out there about how the album Paranoid got produced, or how much cocaine they was taking during the production of Volume 4, and that kind of stuff. Like I said, I like to get a bit of a sense of what's going on behind what happened before the music was produced, and say what the views are. And this is a perfect example of how that's done right. This is what I think. This is, I think, the ultimate, one of the best autobiographies I've read. It's conducted more or less as a long interview over several chapters. It gives you a little. In the introduction, it talks about two of his close friends have had several conversations and recorded them with him, and they're discussing several topics, and they're sort of talking, having conversations with him. So it's all conducted like a long interview. And as somebody who's wanted to, it's kind of an interesting way to write it down and sort of document an autobiography, because I've always wanted to interview Nergal because I'm a massive Behemoth fan, and as a journalist you always kind of get this hope that you'll interview an artist and you'll be able to get a little bit past like what their latest album's like, or little bits about the career. You want to sort of get their views on something, or like have a discussion about something different than just what music they've produced. And with this autobiography, I have to say, having read it, I don't think there's any topic that's not being. There's no topics in that book. There's no topics I could honestly think of now that haven't been covered in the book. He talks about his childhood and his family life, not extensively, but there's a lot in there that's quite interesting. There's a lot more than your average autobiography, and it's more the formation of what sort of, his life and how he kind of turned out the way he did. And there's a lot of his stuff about discussions about his views on, say, religion or politics, which I found quite interesting, because one of the questions I've always wanted to ask him was about his views on politics, and sort of whether he thought that black metal was more suited to any kind of political sphere, or whether it makes more sense to have it express a certain political idea, beyond the sort of topics that black metal tends to discuss. And he does talk about that there's a few pages where he discusses that, and I think it covered everything that could possibly ask. So it's a very interesting thing. It covers all the major points in his life, but it kind of gives you more. Even when it's talking about his career, he goes into a lot more depth than, say, just throwing in a few backstage stories or a few anecdotes. It's like he'll go into real depth about it. And like I said, that's what makes it a really good book, and I honestly recommend it to anybody who wants to read a really, really good autobiography, because like I said, it gives way more insight into the man behind the music. It's not just, I was in Behemoth, and then like Behemoth's right there and the person is behind it's just talking about Behemoth, and then there's little bits where you get a little bit about his life. It's very much about the subject, and like I said, that's what I think makes it an excellent autobiography. I don't think there's many autobiographies that I've read that come even close to, sort of, in terms of giving the reader a look into the life of the person. It doesn't give you any more. I don't think I've read anything that goes into further depth than that. So yeah, that's that book. Like I said, I'd thoroughly recommend it. If you think I should do any more book reviews, I've got a few ideas. I've got a few books that I really love that I'd like to talk about. I'm going to be getting a copy of Only Death Is Real by Tom G. Warrior at some point soon, so I want to do a review on that. If you want to see that, just let me know. But thanks for watching, and have a nice evening. See you.